Okay, we're here. We get to access the screen side of Adalo, and you get to see the screens that I've created in the template if you're using the template. So here are the auto-generated screens that come with any app that you create. So you've got the sign-up page, login page, and the home page. And I've grayed out the home page for now because I really want to stress, like, unless you really want to, unless it's going to make you really upset, you don't need to touch it yet. You really don't. We usually have to think about things when we're doing UX design. We start with user flows often, and so we have to start with a homepage because that's where they start. But actually, once you get further into having looked into, in this case, many of the flows, but in our case, much more of the system and the contextual navigation that we're going to create, then you start to get a fuller picture of what the homepage needs to be and can be. And that's really cool. And also it's going to get a lot easier to design because we're creating all of the little bits that are going to go into it. So I'm actually not going to bother touching that until right at the end, if at all, actually, because it's something that you can really just play around with. But what we are going to do is everything else. So as in the nav flow diagram, at the top we had the main nav, which is anything that we wanted to create that could be named after your main objects, or it could be named slightly differently, however you want to do it. And so for that, I have just used an app bar component in Adalo. You could use other things. It's totally fine. It's just a bit easier for me. And each of these pages are, each of these links in the app bar link to the next set of things that we create from the NavFlow diagram, which are the top level lists. And so we've got the top level list for, again, this is a template, so I just created a 3 object system that originally had no links between any of the objects. It's just like you can play around, you can decide what you want to do, you can do what you like, you can use it in another project. So I've just called them Object A, Object B, Object C, and top level list. Again, we're not thinking about design here. We're just thinking about what can lead you from where on which page when it comes to navigating through your objects and therefore their relationships. So we're going to, we've got these top level list pages, and then each one of those is going to have a list of those objects in them. And when you select one of those, it's going to take you to the detail page for that object. And so we've got this shape. We've got some sort of home page with main nav. I've also added the main nav here in the top level list. I've also added it to the detail pages, but actually just for the sake of it, just for now, I'm going to delete them because I want these arrows that we can see here to represent the nav flow that we're creating, which we can do. It's going to be, it's really nice how well it fits together. I really love Adalo for this. So here is the crazy custom screen I've made. It is just a screen like any other. It's a normal screen. And I have, like, if I went down to, just so you know, in case you don't know this trick, I went down and I hid the status bar, so it doesn't have this information at the top here. So it doesn't look like a screen, but it is. And it's one that you could never navigate to. It wouldn't make any sense. And I'm using it as just a little components library. And here I have everything that we talked about. So we talked about having the list, the card, and the mini card if you have a sub-relationship you want to show, and the detail page. List, card, detail. Or in this case, it's list, card, detail, just because I wanted to put it below and hidden out of the way. But yes, list, card, detail. And here are all the cards. And they're really, I mean, that is just a simple rectangle shape that you can add from the simple thing menu. And I changed the color, and then there are just these 2 text boxes inside, one that's telling you what object it is, and one where we're going to display the name of the instance of that object. And we're not going to display any other attributes. This is a no attribute zone. We're not thinking about what shape these are going to be. They're all just rectangles. And that's not what we want to do when we're actually going to design how they look, because we want our objects to look distinct from each other. But that's for later. So all I need to do now is hook these up. And I should also show you. So each of these little modules here, each of these little things, they're a group of components, a group of Adalo components. And this is just one. But in order to make this list here, all I've had to do is select the group and select make list. And that it does it right there for you. And that's pretty fantastic. So we're going to be using that feature a lot. What I will say is that just because I've made a list out of this card doesn't mean that this card, if I change this card, it doesn't change the list. I have to go into the list and change. It's a new instance. And so when we do make changes, we are going to have to trickle them through. C'est la vie. It'll be fine. We'll work it out. It's worth it. And the other thing I should mention is, obviously this is a 3-object system, but if you wanted to create more, you just have to create another top-level list screen and another detail screen. Ooh. Swing. And yeah, and another set of these in a different color. And there you go. Yeah. So you can do this with as many objects as you want, with the caveat that I said that the more objects you add, the more complex it gets. And really, for your version 1, just find out what you need to find out with the smallest number of objects possible, really. Cool. So I am gonna, let's populate this with the Giftify example.